to call to order the Bucksport Town Council meeting for Thursday, August 11th, 2016. Roll call, please, Kathy.
Joseph York.
Here.
Paul Rad.
Here.
David Key.
Here.
David Key.
Here.
Peter Stewart.
Here.
Paul Bobbin and Robert Carmichael absent.
Okay, we'll go on to item 3, presentations of any town council recognitions. I don't believe we have any tonight. Item 4 is consider minutes of previous meetings. Again, we have none. Okay, item 5, receive and review correspondence and documents. First one being weekly construction summary. Susan.
Yes, again, where it's the highlight of what the work that's being done up the road at our secondary treatment facility. I'm sure you'll notice there are buildings springing from the big holes that were in the ground, and the work is well underway. It's still on schedule. As I said last time, there's a change order in the works for some control items related to the ability of the new system to talk to our existing pump stations, and that is to be finalized at our next construction meeting next month.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, item B is Down East Transportation July ridership.
Yes, we are provided monthly report from Down East Transportation for the Bucksport shuttle rides, and then the cab that's the once a week for each month as well.
Okay, any questions on that?
Just real quick, looking at past notices on that, it seems like it was servicing the same person each time.
On the cab.
Is that what that is, the cab, or?
Mhm. That second page,
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
I'm looking at
that's-
the handwritten piece there.
that's
Yeah.
the cab.
Okay.
That's the once a week that will, it's the, and
Is that how do we come up with this number? Is that a contracted thing that we've done with them, or because again, I've gone back to a
Down
couple
East
of months.
Transportation has, and what that does is provide ridership for outside where the shuttle
Mm-hmm.
goes, but it is primarily
So does
that's
the
its use.
does the $100 include the shuttle also, or is that a separate?
The $100 is the cost of is the cab amount that's paid. We're not writing a check to anybody here. We provide Down East Transportation with an annual amount of
Number.
money, and this is what they've contracted to meet this additional need, but we're not paying additional monies.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's all part of the contract.
Yes.
All set.
Okay, go on to item 6, new ordinances to be considered. Ordinance Committee recommendations from 8/9/16. Mr. Stewart?
We met and went over Chapter 10 is where we were at, looking at land use and structure use and definitions and several different items that were in there. It was going over the whole chapter, and we knew it was going to be one meeting long. We had some good conversation with the code enforcement officer on some of his recommended changes. The committee members looked at those. We decided that the best way to do that was we had just received that information that night, so we got about halfway through the packet, but we decided that it would be better if we took the packet, took it with us, we're able to digest it and look at it and try to take some more time to see what was actually in there before we made any decisions. So we're going to come back, I think it was it the 25th, Susan? We were going to set up a meeting for tonight after the committee members have a chance to look at some of those. He also gave us a package for licenses that we also want to consider. So we're going to try to take them all up in one fell swoop instead of trying to piecemeal it and get more of our bang for our buck out of it. So we don't have anything to bring forward, but there was some very good work done.
Any questions from the council on that? Okay, we'll go on to item 7, is discussion items. Manager's clarification and direction, or council discussions or inputs on issues. The first one being Finance Committee recommendations in reference to the Long Pond lot. Finance Committee?
Go ahead, Susan, if you want.
The Finance Committee the town had received a request from an abutter to a lot that the town owns on Long Pond, to purchase that lot. And it's the only lot that the town owns on Long Pond that has a public access component for Long Pond. And so the town owns one other lot that is across the road. It's on Long Pond, but it's not on the water, it's on the opposite side of the road. And there's also been someone who's exhibited an interest in purchasing that lot. And the committee's interest is in ensuring that there is public access on Long Pond, but that perhaps an alternate lot would better suit the purposes of the town, because it would, number one, be more accessible, and number two, be more usable. And there's another lot that is for sale that I was instructed to look into to see if perhaps the sale of these other two lots that are existing to be replaced by the third lot, which is more accessible to the public and therefore more useful, might be appropriate. And that was going to be, there was going to be another Finance Committee meeting on August 25th to discuss the results of that information with potential action to be taken at the first council meeting in September.
Thank you.
And the original person that came, that made the request to Susan to purchase that town-owned lot on Long Pond was here, and he's fine. He knows he's coming back on the 25th, and he was all set with it, so he's not here tonight, though.
Okay. Any questions on that from the public? Okay, if not, we're going to go on to item B, which is the Waterfront Committee meeting of 8/4/16, update from Councilor Rabs.
There is included here in the packet, tonight's packet. Last Thursday, we invited, in addition to the town manager's participation and the members of this committee, Dwayne Nadeau, Public Works manager, Bill Chandler from the Marina, Mike Ormsby, Harbor Master, David Grant, Assistant Harbor Master, Tim Emery from Parks and Recreation, and a couple others were good enough to join the meeting. Anyway, what we arrived at was there was a meeting held back in June 2nd of this year. Then this meeting took place last week, and we've heard from the department heads as well as the marina users who are very excited about the marina in a positive way and so forth. So a combination, I generated this report, and we're looking for the opportunity, all of us, to develop a plan strategy going forward. And this, by a plan or strategy, I mean that we're, do a size up, set an objective, identify the issues, pluses and negatives, set strategy and tactics, and then take action. And the value to the town in taking a look at this is, value is the benefit minus the cost, is that it'll end up being comprehensive, a full line of services and equipment. I'm just reading off the report right now. Forward thinking to enhance our asset management, accountable with simplifying the execution and risk deliver through we're looking at delivering through a single source instead of multiple departments, using the talented town people and commitment from the town manager, the councilors, and the department heads. So by size up, what I'm saying is the thing that really changed is we're people are about to move on. The Recreation Department, Tim would like to retire sometime next year. Public Works, Dwayne will be gone in a few days, and Marina, Bill Chandler will be, may not be here by next summer, so we'll see. So we ended up with establishing 2 objectives out of the meeting, and using town manager's words, to come up with a new model to consolidate the maintenance, repairs, and operations, and develop a comprehensive plan for the waterfront. And the first objective is to consolidate the workload, and we may end up with 1 full-time person and then part-time support to run through the season. And the important thing is that we develop a plan based on input of the marina, the town, people from the various departments, and the users to take advantage of their behavior and preferences. So just to wrap this thing up real quick, some of the things that came out during the course of the 2 meetings is, if you look at it from pluses and minuses, there's multiple budgets right now, there's multiple departments. The waterfront is growing fast, but we were cautioned, don't expand too fast. There are inherent issues with the river that have to be dealt with. That is, how many pieces of wharf we can put out here, and how many moorings, and it has to do with currents and things like that. The marina and town dock policies need to be looked at. How to put the dock space to better use. Out here on the dock space, the marina manager and his staff, they run utilities, electric and water, to the boats that are out there. I think it's about time to evaluate fees, and that requires an ordinance review. Talked about fixing and expanding the marina docks, the moorings, and what we're looking there is to come up with an engineering plan, and we'll get to that in a minute. And the winter dock storage, there's issues around how high we can stack them, the parking lots, what we need to repair, do we need to transport them, how do we transport, do we need 1 or 2 cranes, and a whole raft of things. And then regarding Hancock County or the state, getting back to the engineering plan, we'd like to see if we can work with Hancock County to come up with grant money for small harbor improvements and an engineering plan. And then harbor operations, as it turns out, Mike Ormsby's been involved here for 30+ years, and he has all the licenses necessary for to be the harbor master and to operate under his license. And then the last few items here, the Verona boat ramp. One of the things that came up with the people that use the marina and is the tricky currents that are out there, and trying to get a boat in and out off of the ramp to install what they call fingers, I believe, to create some barriers to make it easier to do the putting the boats in and out. And then finally, to promote tourism, because we have the assets and the potential, and to reevaluate the cruise ship potential. There have been discussions on both sides whether it doesn't mean much, and at the last meeting there seemed to be an opinion that quite a bit of potential. So the strategy going forward will be, at this point it's going to be determined, but we're waiting for a list of, we've asked the department heads and town manager to come up with a list of jobs, duties, budgets, additional information and clarification, and then from that we'll develop some tactics about what we're going to do, who's going to do it, and when's it going to be done by. And then in the future we'll put together an action strategy, and the key thing there will be continuously evaluate the results as we go ahead. So in the spirit of kids going back to school, everybody got a homework assignment, and Sue, town manager, is going to develop a list of budget line items and for various departments, with various departments, and she's already begun efforts with the state about the Verona boat ramp, and the department heads have been each requested to craft a list of duties and jobs, and just bulletize, no long narratives. And actually the marina manager got about 2 pages in an email this afternoon. So there's a long, windy answer to about an hour's worth of 2 waterfront committee meetings, one in June and one just last week. So,
Thank you.
any questions or concerns?
Any questions from the public, from the council? If not, we're going to go on to item 7C, which is the town council representative on the BBHCC board. Susan?
Yes, initially, we had identified Councilor Carmichael as being the contact or the representative on that board from the town council, which is part of our agreement with them, is that a council member, and Mr. Carmichael isn't able to serve in that capacity. Councilor Rabs said that he would be happy to do that, but in doing so, he would step down from the Recreation Committee. But if he steps down from that, somebody else needs to step up, because we will then be one councilor short on Recreation. So if there's a councilor who wishes to serve on the Recreation Committee, then Councilor Rabs can be the representative to the BBHCC.
I would do that for everyone.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Awesome.
That work for everybody?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks, Joe.
great.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you, Joe.
You're off the hook, David.
I was going to nominate Galvin.
Okay, we're going to go on to 7D. It's a request from the Great Pond Mountain Trust, I believe. Susan?
Since this agenda was put out, this request is going to be, is not going to be active tonight. They have to apply for a planning board permit to establish a recreational center there before they can get,
Parking,
well, parking will be part of that.
but
there
access
are-
or everything else.
And there is other information in regard to something to do with cemeteries or burial grounds or something in regard to that site as well that's also been raised, that's been forwarded to our code officer to deal with in the planning process. But this has all come up since I did this agenda, so there's nothing to move forward on this at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And they're aware of all that.
Yes, they've been told.
Are there any other discussion items?
No.
No.
Well, I don't have any others.
You don't? Okay. Any discussion items from the council right now? Okay, we're going to go on to item 8, which is the agenda items. The first one being to approve Resolve R 2017-14. Is that supposed to be 16? No, 17, okay.
2017,
Yeah, okay,
14, because
okay.
we're in the 17 fiscal year.
Yeah. Okay, to approve contract with Sunset Development for repair, replacement of downtown sidewalk sections and steps in the amount of $52,000, with the amount of $15,718 coming from Streets and Roads Reserves and $36,282 from unappropriated funds. I believe we have a lady in the audience that would like to speak on this subject. Please, can.
Thank you, David. I'm standing in tonight for Casey Hutchins, who is our rehabilitation manager at the Blue Hill Memorial Hospital. She was going to go with us on the walk that we went on around town, and she was supposed to be here tonight to speak to you, but her schedule would not permit it. So I got an email from her this afternoon, and she asked if I would read it to you. She's a valuable member of the Thriving in Place program, and I brought along these brochures if you haven't already seen them, if you'd like to pass those around. Advising the group on the mobility needs of residents living at home. She offers an important perspective on what is needed to make Main Street Business District accessible and safe. And this is what she writes. It's written on the Bucksport Rehabilitation Services stationery. It's from 58 Main Street here in Bucksport. She's got her phone number listed. Dear Susan Lassard and members of the council, I am writing to bring up some concerns about the accessibility in downtown Bucksport for those with mobility impairments. I believe the parking spaces and sidewalks in our town could be improved, and we know we're working on that. I am a physical therapist, and I see patients on a daily basis with mobility issues. A large portion of the population uses mobility devices, wheelchairs, walkers, and canes. In my experience, a building that seems easily accessible to able-bodied persons can present multiple challenges for a person with mobility impairments. The street parking area in front of our building is a good example of what I mean. The spaces are too narrow to accommodate a car door opened all the way. This creates a problem for the disabled person that needs to access walkers and other bulky medical equipment. Another trouble spot is the lip of our sidewalks. That step up with no easy access point can create a real challenge for citizens with mobility issues. These troubles are not isolated to our building. As I have walked through Bucksport, I have seen that most places in the downtown area are laid out the same way. As a resident of Bucksport and a clinician, I would really love to see this change. It would help out our local population and provide a more hospitable environment for visitors. My recommendation would be to have larger parking spots for those that may not necessarily be using the handicapped parking spots, but that do have some mobility issues, requiring them to need more room around their vehicle for safe access to their mobility devices. Additionally, I highly recommend smoothing out the lip onto the sidewalks, as wheelchairs and walkers are both very difficult to maneuver on uneven surfaces. Thank you for your consideration. Please feel free to reach out to me directly if you have any questions or concerns. Casey Hutchins, PT, DPT, Rehabilitation Manager at the Blue Hill Memorial Hospital. She's listed her Blue Hill office number and the Bucksport office number, and I will just leave this here with you, Kathy. Okay? And if you would like to see the Thriving in Place brochures, if you haven't seen them, you'll have an idea of what Bucksport Bay Healthy Communities Coalition, one of the things that they do. I'll just leave those with you. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions that I could possibly answer? No? Did I say my name was Pearl Swenson? I'm always forgetting to do that. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else like to speak on this particular topic before we, yes, sir, can you come up and give your name and where you're from?
My name is John Christopher Lord. I've been in Bucksport as a resident since the 1970s. I guess I'm retired now, but adding the letters after my name, I'm certified, nationally certified, rehabilitation registered nurse, board certified, and I'm retired now. I care for my wife, also a retired RN, and she has, without going too far with HIPAA, she has multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, and a couple other things that makes her 100% wheelchair stuck. Through the years, we live on one of the side streets, right off Main Street. Through the years, as her mobility has gone downhill, just naturally for me as a rehab nurse, I've tried to keep her as involved in the community as I can. One of the first things that went down for us was we used to, 2 nights a week, a special thing for us was to jump in the van and get her in the van and go down and buy an ice cream and drive down to the wharf and eat our ice cream. And then one day we went down and suddenly there are barricades in front of the ice cream parlor. And this jut out thing with the little bumps for blind people. I'm told, the blind people I know tell me that blind people hate those things. But anyhow, I tried parking further back, and there's no parking spaces. So we just had to stop going for our ice cream. It's a small thing, I know. Alamo Theater, there we go again. There's a parking space, designated space over in the Bangor Savings parking lot that's always filled. I just tried to check out the new store in town, Huckleberry's, I think it's called. I can't figure out where to park. On each corner I looked at, it says no parking here at a corner, and on both the side street and the main street. And there are no designated wheelchair spots on the entire north side of Main Street. And I want to add this too, is we keep talking about wheelchairs. When you have a mobility placard or a license plate, it also means you're unable to walk more than 50 feet because of respiratory or cardiac problems, rolling an oxygen tank beside you, or you just simply can't breathe. I don't see anything really addressing that. Parking spaces on the north side of the street could be a big help. The community pharmacy parking lot is a handy location, but it's a long walk when you're going down to those stores like past Andy's bookstore and up to the ice cream store and whatever. And plain old curbside designated parking place here and there would be a big help. I have, Kathy can testify to the many hours I've spent arguing with our previous town manager, the one that stayed 30 years on this issue, and he just flatly said people with disabilities should never be parking along the side of the road. It's not safe. And I go, where'd you go to school, buddy? But that was the end of that. And that's one of my things is when we're painting new places, remember that there are a lot of people that just can't walk more than 50 feet. And that is also covered under the ADA. It's not just people in wheelchairs. The other thing with people in wheelchairs is independent access. Independence is a key word. It doesn't mean just someone sitting in a chair being pushed. It means the stranger, the salesman from out of town. He pulls up to the town office. Oh, it says handicap parking in the rear, and the arrow points that way. He can drive 20 miles and not see another sign saying, so where do I turn off? If someone points out, oh, well, you go up to the brick building and you go down that hill, and he looks down that steep hill from his wheelchair. Whoa, no one would try that. Ms. Lassard just reassured me that this is in the works now to open the front door again to people with disabilities, whatever the tiny issue is. You know, during the time that there was a period of 10 years or so when my wife was going downhill, and we sort of did a bucket list, and we traveled through most of the states this side of the Mississippi. And we deliberately just drove aimlessly. And we'd pull off the main interstates and drive through the small towns. And what we would look for was towns that welcomed us. And the welcome sign is a blue sign with a white wheelchair painted on it, in front of restaurants, in front of establishments, etc. And Bucksport does not look that way. And it's my understanding, I have a relative who works in Bar Harbor, and it's my understanding that of the people, of the tourists with real money, it's the old folks, it's disabled folks, and that for the coast of Maine, the restaurants at Isle make more money in the fall than they do during the summer. And once again, driving through Bucksport and not even seeing a place I can pull off the road to park, not seeing a restaurant where I can get into, no welcoming signs. I could rattle on forever. I'm good at that. I had an injury many years ago that makes my brain rattle sometimes too long. But the final thing I wanted to ask and add to this, I don't know if it was on your walking tour list, but for 30, 40 years, my wife and I deposited directly our money into the same bank. And that bank has a so-so attempt at a wheelchair accessible ATM machine. and there's no accessible parking space in front of it. Again, Mr. former town manager said that, no, you can't do that. That's up to the state. That's their thing, and they won't let us do it. Well, whatever. The bank themselves, Camden National, then painted a wheelchair symbol in their driveway right next to the ATM ramp. Very handy. That space and painted thing faded and faded. When a new manager came in, a teller at that bank, who was a very dear, I've known her since she was a little kid, came out and said, "Chris, we got a new manager, go talk to him." And I did. And he walked out, he saw the traces of where it had faded, the old wheelchair symbol. He reassured me repeatedly, "I'm going to take care of that. I used to work at, I know all about the ADA." And 2 years later, there's nothing there. And I've now had to move my banking across the street, where they have drive-through ATMs. They have a drive-through teller, but sometimes I want my money on the weekend or other times. A lot of these problems, too, were big problems getting my wife through town in a wheelchair. But I just now finished 3 years of back surgeries and procedures that had me where I could barely walk. So I got to experience a lot of this stuff firsthand, too. The person from Blue Hill who mentioned the difficulty in accessing businesses, I know, back to the ADA again, when it presents too huge of a problem to make a business accessible, or might ruin the historic charm of something, you can get out of it. You don't have to do anything. But since my wife has gone into a wheelchair, there is no place on Main Street where she can get her hair cut anymore. For a few years, she would drive her wheelchair, park it outside her hair cutting places. I don't know the names, they change all the time. And literally get on her knees and crawl into the places to get her hair cut. And then it got to where she could no longer crawl on her knees. And so I went to each of these hair cutting places. I talked to each of the owners, people that had cut her hair for 20, 30 years. I offered them $30 plus the price of a haircut to drive a half mile to our house and give her a quick haircut, and they all refused. We finally found a woman in Cherryfield, Maine, who drove all the way from Cherryfield and would not accept money to cut my wife's hair. Again, these are all little things, but the way the north side of the street is set up, I've talked with Andy, Bookstore Andy, many times about it, is you got those darn two steps going up to everything. And I do not know, I'm not an engineer, on how to get around that.
Well, just so you know,
I'm glad
we got some things coming up.
I'm
We have
glad we're working on
we have
it.
some money available to businesses in order to fix these things.
Some stuff looks really optimistic.
So we are listening, and we are trying to do something.
And this is stuff that I'm just, because I can't get away from my wife too often, whatever, I just grabbed this chance when I saw in the paper we were going to talk about it tonight. And I think that's my highlights. I wanted to make sure those got tossed in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have anything particular they want to talk before we actually take up the resolve? Okay, here we go. I'm going to repeat it again. On the agenda, it's to approve Resolve R 2017-14 to approve the contract with Sunset Development for repair and replacement of downtown sidewalk sections and steps in the amount of $52,000. $15,718 coming from Streets and Roads Reserves, and $36,282 for an unappropriated fund balance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? Yes, sir.
Evening all, Scott Arnold, Bucksport. The gentleman that just spoke raised some valid issues, and if we go and spend this kind of money to repair what we have, we don't even address his issues. And he's got some really compelling information, opened my eyes that I never realized that we have downtown, and I'm thinking we ought to,
It is,
some of these,
it is addressing some of his issues, though. It's putting
well,
parking handicap on the
doesn't
north
say
side.
anything in the agenda information,
Yeah,
so
it-
how am I to assume that we are? Right? I mean, if we got lowered curbing.
We're telling you that we are. We're putting
Yeah.
handicap on the north side of the road. We're going to have another resolve here coming up to make businesses more ADA friendly.
Good.
So
Good. It just seemed foolish to spend money to repair what we have, and again, I didn't see anything in there.
And the folks that were on the tour, that was one of their main concerns, was the sidewalk itself. So that's where we're starting. So
Good.
we are addressing
Good.
it.
Awesome.
This is step
Thank you.
one.
Yep.
Yeah, however, I think that, you know, those of us who have a little bit more mobility, it was kind of an eye-opener because we just don't pay much attention as far as our own mobility is concerned. But if for a person that's handicapped, I think it was quite an eye-opener to us. And after we get this finished, this first stage, I hope that the people who have come up here and talked to us about it will take a look and say, well, you know, that's great, but we still need this and this and this, because I think you'll find a responsive council to that. So take a good look at for those who with whom this is an issue, an understandable issue, that there may still be some suggestions after the initial work is done. Thanks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. I have asked for any input from the public. Any other input? Yes, ma'am?
I would just like to say thank you. The parking at the community, what you have done is looking good there.
Yeah, we don't have the railing up yet.
No, I realize
We're
that, but
going
I
to.
mean, that was quick. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving as fast as possible on some of these issues. Anything further from the public? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Going on to item B, to approve Resolve R 2017-15 to approve payment requisition 12 for the sewer treatment plant project in the amount of $922,381.13 to be funded from the $7.8 million temporary financing loan. Susan, do you have any comments on this?
No, we will have one more requisition about before we are at the end of that $7.8 million loan, and we'll be transitioning into finally the grant funding. At the time that happens, we're going to have to turn that temporary loan into the permanent one. And the good news is that right now the rates through rural development are the lowest in history. So if we get a rate that's right around 1%, we'd be saving a lot of money over time and interest on that.
That's great.
These liens, Susan, these are just from different companies across the country that have been working there, just waiving their liens
What they are is vendors to the
to the contractor.
Apex.
Okay.
Yes.
How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? From the council? Now, we'll get the reduced rate on this loan, this $7.8 million.
No. This 7.8 is temporary financing.
Right.
That already had a very low rate, and we paid off the first year of that because it was a one-year loan, renewed it for a short period of time. We'll pay off that small amount, but the 30-year interest rate is the one that's going to be like 1% or something.
But it'll be based on the 7.8.
Based on the 7.8.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolve, right? Anything further? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item C, to approve Resolve R 2017-16 to approve the use of $10,000 from TIF funding to establish a grant program for the Bucksport businesses to assist with accessibility and accommodations. How would the council like to proceed?
Move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? This is a program to help businesses to meet the ADA, right? Okay. Anything further from the council?
When will this take effect? I know it's in there that the details will come through the Economic Development Committee. Will they set up the parameters and how those
I'm
things
going to give you a proposed,
look? Yep.
something to consider,
Okay.
but given the difficulties architecturally and geographically for many businesses in the community, including limiting storefronts, limited all sorts of things, there are some even simple accommodations like the grab bar by Bookstacks
Bookstack.
that people with few other choices because of the construct could do that would assist in some way those for whom mobility is difficult. It can't solve everything, but it's an attempt, along with what the town is doing in terms of making its own, this building completely accessible with the push buttons, to encourage businesses to step up in terms of this recognition.
Right. Thanks.
Have we taken?
Yep.
Okay. Anything further from the council on this? Further from the public on this? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, to approve Resolve R 2017-17, to approve the addition of 2 handicap accessible parking spaces in the downtown area and relocation of a third space to improve accessibilities. How would the council like to proceed?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolve. Anything further from the public? From the council?
I'd just like to say, I think it was less than a month ago that a couple ladies came in and talked to us about this, and I just think it's great that the council and the town have come together to do stuff to make this stuff a lot better for them. So I hope that other people, if they have concerns, can bring it to the council, and we can hopefully do the same for them as well. Thank you.
Well, I think it's quite obvious under these agenda items tonight that the town is very serious about this
3 of
issue.
them right in a row. It's
Right.
fantastic.
It's a start.
It's a start.
Anything from the public on this? From the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. We've identified those spots too, right? Yeah. Okay, we're going to go on to item 9, resignations, appointments, and assignments, and elections. You don't have anything? Item 10, to approve quitclaim deeds, discharges. First one being quitclaim deed for Kelly J. Albert, map 47, lot 13-1. Susan, do you?
These are all people who have had property that had gone into foreclosure that have paid, that are, these quitclaims deed it back to them from the town.
Do we have to take an actual vote on this?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to sign the deeds.
You want to do each individually?
Yes, please.
Okay, first one, how would the council like to proceed?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the quitclaim deed for Kelly Albert. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item B, quitclaim deed for Wade and Melissa Winchester, map 10, lot 21-2. How would the council like to proceed?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the quitclaim deed for Wade and Melissa Winchester. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item 11 is town manager's report.
You got one more.
No, HSBC.
I didn't see it on my agenda.
I'm sorry, it's HSBC Bank is the third one, and this was the final agenda that was posted.
Okay, quitclaim deed for HSBC Bank, map 5, lot 61.
Move to approve.
This is actually Niles Property Group. HSBC had taken it over, had then assigned it to another, so the actual is Niles Property Group according to HSBC, but it's the same map and lot.
Okay. We have a motion. Have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the quitclaim deed. Sorry. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Now, town manager's report.
Yes, I have one. You also have the department heads' reports for July. First, the Maine Forest Products industry and federal officials and community representative meetings that are being set up across the state in areas where either mills have closed or the forest products industry is seeking help from the federal government in making their industry more sustainable. Bucksport is being included in those visits, and that meeting is being held in Bucksport on Thursday, the 17th. And this is being coordinated by the Maine Development Foundation and their consultants. The town is not hosting any meetings, but they are. Bucksport's local government is being represented at that meeting by me, Mayor Keene, and Rich Rotella, our Economic Development Director. And they are also, I believe, inviting some people from other sectors to that as well. We received a thank you from Kathy Coogan and Paul Hansen. We received a nice note from them thanking the council for the microloan transfer to the new property owners for the 39 Franklin Street property. They appreciate the council's cooperative and timely response to their request. So I wanted you to know that they had said thank you. I will be interviewing candidates this coming week for the director position and hope to have a recommendation for you by the 25th of this month. I've put out a notice for request to banks for an interest rate and terms for the 3-year financing of the plow truck that you approved at a recent meeting, and I will have a recommendation for that for the meeting on August 25th as well. Goodwin's will be starting the Heritage Park sewer and water line installation this coming Monday. The town has received a notice of claim from a property owner on Town Farm Road in regard to work the town did there this spring in the right-of-way clearing, and I have forwarded that to the that claim to the town's insurance carrier. I've been in contact with Tom Linscott, who was in charge of the Maine Boating Facilities Program for the state of Maine in regard to a request for improvements to the Verona boat launch. He is researching earlier proposals for improvements that did not move forward and will be getting back to me to discuss what might be able to be done. And finally, a reminder to everyone to attend the Bucksport Arts Festival this Saturday from 10 to 5 on the waterfront. We're fortunate to have a thriving and growing arts community here in Bucksport, and they deserve our support.
Thank you.
I'm
Okay, item 12 is set public hearings and hold public hearings and approval of any licenses or permits. I believe we do have one, and that being, okay, it's going to be, going to have a public hearing on a full-time liquor license for Jin Min Chin doing business as Ming Gardens. Declare the public hearing open. Any comments on the liquor license for Ming's Gardens? If not, declare the public hearing closed. How would the council like to proceed?
Move to approve.
Police Department and Fire Chief have approved, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, they have signed off on all of it.
I'll second it. Anything further? Oh, we've already had the public hearing on it, so anything further from the council? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, no. Item 13, discussion items not on the agenda for council or public.
Yeah. You can sign this one also.
First being the public, is there any discussion items from the public? Not on this, yes, sir.
Rich Rotella, Community and Economic Development Director for Bucksport. Just wanted to let you know and the public know back in viewing land that you'll be receiving these nice flyers in the mail from Heart and Soul. It lists all the block parties that we'll be holding for the rest of the year. We do have one coming up this Tuesday, the 16th, at the Jewett School on Broadway. Food will be cooked by the Guns and Hoses, so we hope you can all join us for at least one of the next 4 of these. May I hand these out to you?
So you're going to say postage, not sending it to us? Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Any discussion items from the council?
Yes. Just an update. I was at Maine Maritime Academy this afternoon for their Board of Trustees meeting, and I know a lot of people are wondering where they stand, possibly looking at doing something over at the AIM project. Where it stands right now is they are, have a consultant working on their marketing plan to see the feasibility of putting such an institute in whether it's going to generate enough income, because that's truly what they're looking for, is another revenue generator for the school. That consultant should be done sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks. They should be done in the next 2 to 4 weeks. They're going to send it to the board. They're going to have a special meeting. And it sounds like they're going to have some type of vote whether or not they want to go forward with the project, probably by the end of September is when they should be looking at it. So,
Thank you. Any other discussion items from the council? Yes, sir.
A couple things. The request for interest rate regarding the plow truck. Plow truck will be delivered, so it will have it this winter. When will the first payment be due on the truck? Two questions. Will we have it for this winter, and when will the payment be due?
The plow truck should be ready for this winter, and the first payment would be due within a year from the time within this year, and then the next one following 1 year after. We've set it up as a 3-payment issue. The interest rate, it's been advertised. It's gone out to all the. I individually sent it to all the banks in the. Well, most of them in Maine actually, but yes, we would be utilizing part of it out of this year's expenditure.
Gotcha. Thank you. The other thing was back to Joe York's and Peter's comments earlier about the work that was done out here after how quick it took place after the walk through town. Well done, I guess, to the town manager and all concerned. People take a look next to community pharmacy, the way Highway got out there right away and reworked that access point, and the resolves that got taken care of tonight. And Scott, in answer to your question, the work, concrete work that's going to be done out here, there's a total of 294. There's 42 slabs that are broken and 252 that are sunk that are going to be taken care of under that cost. So,
my main concern on that, Paul, is if we've got some point of raising them and we're going to resync them for access, it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for clearing that up.
Anyway, that was all. Thank you.
Any other discussion items? If not, we're going to go on to item 14, upcoming public hearings, designation of topics for committee assignments, and scheduling of committee meetings. First one being Finance Committee. Request to purchase town-owned lot on Long Pond. Request to purchase a lot on Nicholson Avenue. Finance Committee, that's you, isn't it, Paul? Peter's the Finance? I thought you were the Ordinance. The Ordinance too? Jeez.
thanks.
All right.
That happens when you don't show up for a meeting. I think we're going to go with the 25th.
He was going to do the 25th for finance and the 25th for ordinance.
So we'll start at 5. I think we'll go an hour with each. And does that sound
Well,
reasonable?
the finance might not take.
Can we go at 5:30?
I would think that if you did, well, there's another one here, sewer, that needs to, not sewer, solid waste needs to meet to talk about the skid steer.
We need to have that one. So
Yeah.
let's do I would think solid waste maybe at 5, and then go finance, and we can run right into those. I don't know who's on the solid waste.
Yeah, I would see solid waste as Joe.
Sure.
So if we did solid waste at 5,
And that's just before the
and
Next council
then
meeting.
5:30 for finance, and then 6 for ordinance.
Yep.
What about the Sewer Committee?
Well, sewer, we may be able to move that one along quicker than if you'll let me talk about what this is here when we get to that. We have had a request. We've had a lot of requests in regard to sewer rates, but there's one request that is pretty limited in the number of entities that are impacted, and that is that we charge a full base rate charge for a lot that doesn't have any building on it. And there's very, 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 very few of those in the community, and that seems to be.
That can
There's
hurt.
nothing. We know there's nothing happening there. There's nobody there. So, what I would like to do, as
You're not
opposed to, I had it.
you're not looking to get rid of the rate, you're actually looking just to reduce it
I
down
am
to a-
looking to bring, because there's debt service on the fact
Right.
that lot has service
Right.
available
Right.
and a service to it, but $167 for the privilege of that going by when you're using none of the 1,800 cubic feet that you could is. So what I'd like to do for your next council meeting is bring you a recommendation for an amendment to the sewer ordinance to reduce that fee. I'm not sure it needs a sewer committee meeting. I had put it down there, that's your normal route, but this is as I said, the population we're talking about that's impacted is extremely small, but it's one of the more egregious pieces of that ordinance that the people that are paying the sewer rate are paying more for sewer rate for that than they are paying for property taxes on the
Yeah, that doesn't quite seem right.
property. That there's something somewhat not that
Are you okay with doing that, making a recommendation without it going to the sewer committee?
I would, you're going to have a chance to look at it, see it, decide whether it's something that you would accept or not. But because it's not a wide-ranging, big impact, but for those who are in that small, it's truly a hardship in that. And it's hard to be defensible to charge somebody who doesn't even have a building on a site a sewer charge that is the same as if you used 1,800 cubic feet of.
I don't have a problem with you
water.
coming
Is
forward with a
that-
recommendation.
Are you okay with the recommendation? If not, we can schedule sewer that night and I'll have something and you can do it that way, whichever you want. But
right.
that's the sum total of it.
So we do have finance, ordinance, and solid waste, so for the
Yes.
25th, yeah, okay.
5, 5:30, and 6.
Okay. Moving on to item 15.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have motion and second for adjournment. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
We love summertime meetings.